Keep your devices on mute to keep background noise out of our meeting until the time when you're ready to speak. And precede all comments by stating your name for the record. Mr. President, I believe I will say that this is a combined meeting, a business meeting and a committee meeting, and all rules of procedure that Levy Court has adopted for business and committee meetings are in effect, along with the Mason's Rules of Order. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you. As we come to order, I'll ask Commissioner Howell to lead us in the invocation, ask Commissioner Maston to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Angel, a moment of silence for our troops and first responders. All rise.
Heavenly Father, we acknowledge your presence tonight and ask you to guide us in all of our proceedings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Mr. Tanaka, can we have roll call, please, to determine quorum?
Present.
Mr. Buxton? Absent. Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Present.
Mrs. Maston? Present. Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Here.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 4 present, 3 absent.
Thank you. We do have quorum. Need a motion for the adoption of tonight's agenda.
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, and I believe second by Commissioner Maston to adopt tonight's agenda. Have roll call on that, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton? Absent. Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 4 yeas, 3
Thank-
absent.
Thank you. Tonight's agenda has been adopted. First item on the agenda this evening is public hearings. We'll open the public hearings. The first one, Mrs. Maston.
First on the agenda is Resolution 3887, fiscal year 2022 sewer assessment rolls for Kent County Sewage Disposal District 1, Kent County Sewer District Number 1 as listed. Ms. Gold, could you step forward, please?
Good evening. Tonight is a public hearing where folks can speak for or against the resolution. If you're present in the Levy Court chambers, please come to the podium to speak, and please make sure that you're sworn in and that you state your name and address. Folks will have the same opportunity through WebEx to provide testimony. The rates are explained basically in the resolution. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Gold? See no one, thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll ask for anyone that is here in favor of Resolution 3887, the FY 2022 sewer assessment rolls for Kent County Sewage Disposal District Number 1, to please come forward. Anyone in favor? Anyone in favor?
If we have any guests on WebEx that wish to address this matter before Levy Court, please indicate willingness to provide comment by pressing the raise hand symbol or *6 on your mobile phone.
Caller number 6, you can unmute your phone and proceed. It appears they don't want to
Is that
make
me?
You may proceed.
Well, hello, folks. This is Commissioner Buxton, if I am now being heard. And you guys can proceed, because I've been banging on the door for a while. My bad. Let's get going.
Okay, Commissioner Buxton, I'll log you in the system.
It's all good.
All right, anyone in the audience opposed to Resolution 3887? Anyone opposed to Resolution 3887, please come forward, give testimony.
And similarly, if we have any callers on WebEx that wish to address this matter, the raised hand symbol on your computer will bring you into the room, or *6 on your mobile phone will bring you into the room.
For those callers, you can press the *3 to raise your hand if you're joining by phone. It appears no one else wants to make a comment at this time.
Okay, seeing no one opposed, unless there's any questions from any of the commissioners. Mr. President.
Allison is on.
Mr. President, I just wanted, for the record, state that Commissioner Buxton has joined the meeting, and he will be eligible to vote on this item as well. So, thank you.
Did I hear
Wow, these
someone
guys
else?
are so professional.
Mr. Buckwell, did you want to make a comment at this time?
I apologize. I thought my microphone was muted. This technology is catching up with me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, unless there's any questions, I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Maston.
Since there's no one here to speak in opposition or to speak against, this portion of the public hearing is now closed, and we'll move on to the next item.
Now, we need a motion on this one. Need to make a motion to,
I make a motion that we accept Resolution 3887 for sewer assessment rolls for Kent County Sewage Disposal District as listed.
Second the motion.
thank you. Motion by Commissioner Maston, second by Commissioner Angel to approve Resolution 3887. Unless there's any questions, can we have roll call, please?
This may not be in the normal order. I see that Lori has stepped out, so I will take the roll. Commissioner Buxton.
Yes, based on Commissioner Maston's comment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Maston.
Yes, for reasons stated.
Commissioner Angel.
Yes, based on the resolution 3887 written form and no opposition, yes.
Commissioner Sweeney is absent. Commissioner Howell.
Yes, reasons stated.
And Commissioner Pepper.
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. President, the roll call reveals that we have 5 yeas, 2 absent. I'm sorry, I didn't call Mr. Hall. but I know he's not here as well. So Sweeney and Hall are both absent. 5 yeas carries the motion.
Thank you. Resolution 3887 has been approved. Commissioner Sweeney is not here this evening, so Commissioner Angel, I ask you to handle Resolution 3866.
Sure. Resolution 3866, a resolution establishing the ponds of Willow Grove Garbage Collection District. Ms. Galt, please.
Again, this public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of Kent County an opportunity to present testimony on the resolutions before Levy Court. All statements may be made either at the podium in the room or via the WebEx conference call. For the record, please state your name and address and wait to be sworn in before giving your testimony. After everyone has had the opportunity to speak, the hearing will be closed and Levy Court will take action as it deems appropriate. The decision will be based upon the public hearing testimony and recommendations of staff. Tonight we have before you resolution number 3866. Mark, do you have the map? So the map will show phase 1 of the ponds at Willow Grove, which consists of 46 lots. And it's up on the screen currently. We're forming this, and we have 65% of signatures in support of it. There are 30 lots in support, and 16 owners did not sign the petition. The annual cost of services is $329 for trash, recycle, and yard waste. Based on this information, staff recommends the formation of the district. Additionally, the reason why we're looking at phase 1 only is there was one developer who had not signed the petition, and based on the entirety of the subdivision being 133 lots, we only had 42% in support. We are able to move forward with phase 1 because we do have 65% in support.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners have any questions of Ms. Galt? If not, thank you. And this time we'll open the public hearing on Resolution 3866, the Ponds of Willow Grove Garbage Collection District number 172. And we'll ask those in favor to please come forward and give testimony as to why. You'll have to be sworn in first by the attorney.
Okay, very good.
Name and address.
My name's Randy Farmer. Live at 950 Chanticleer Circle, Kendall, Wyoming, Delaware.
Right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity to share the perspective. Prior to moving to the Ponds of Willow Grove, my family resided in Penwood for about 10 and a half years, and we enjoyed the benefits of the county trash removal service. When we moved to the Ponds of Willow Grove about 2 years ago, noticed pretty soon after we got there that we didn't have that benefit. And there's 3 things that we missed from that service that we enjoyed at Penwood. Number 1, the service is cheaper, by a matter of around 40% or so from what our current commercial provider provides. Number 2, the service was more extensive at Penwood than it is by the commercial folks in that we enjoyed the benefit of yard waste removal through the county, which was a very nice thing to have for those of us that do our own yard work. And of course, there's also the benefit of just having 1 day a week where the trash trucks come through. That's a safety consideration, also a quality of life consideration. So it is on those merits, as well as previous experience, that I support the passage of the Ponds of Willow Grove becoming a Kent County a waste removal district.
Any questioners have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else in favor, please come forward.
Name and address.
Allison Kahn. I own 955 Chanticleer Circle.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
Kahn. Allison Kahn.
How do you spell it?
K-A-H-N.
Thank you.
Ms. Khan, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Proceed.
I echo all the same sentiments as my neighbor, Randy Farmer. One of the biggest benefits is that we will only have one day a week in our very small development to have large trucks coming through. Right now, we currently have 3 different contractors coming through our neighborhood on a weekly basis. There are at least 2 different days of the week where we have trash trucks coming in. Another benefit to having the county is we will have weekly recycling versus every other week. We all have our bins overflowing. So that would be a major benefit. In addition, we would also get the yard waste. My husband and I do our own yard work, and we have to haul it to Sandtown. And it's not fun if you're able to have the benefit of the pickup at your home, on your curb, every week, April to December, and the Christmas tree, which we have strapped to the roof of our van after New Year's Day and taken it to Sandtown. But the biggest benefit is just safety, having trucks one day a week coming through our development. It's young, there are many young families in our neighborhood. I have 2 young children, ages 3 and 6, and our sidewalks are not finished. And I have little kids that like to run around, so for the safety benefit as well. But thank you for your time, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any commissioner have any questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience in favor of Resolution 3866? Anyone else in favor like to come forward?
If we have any callers on WebEx that wish to address this matter in favor, press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself, *3 on your computer or phone to raise your hand, and also the icon to raise your hand.
No one at this time.
Okay, at this time, we'll ask anyone who is opposed to Resolution 3866. Anyone opposed to Resolution 3866 to please come forward. Please come forward, ma'am.
My name is Barbara Fry. I live at 88 Redmond Lane.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
Okay, I have the opposite problem of everybody else that has had complaints tonight. I live alone, and I only need garbage pickup once a month. And right now, my waste management people, GFL now, have given me a discount for being a senior citizen as well as the lesser pickup days. And I was getting ready to ask them to come just once a month because that's all I need. And I'm a little concerned that once we are, the resolution passes for this, if it does, that we cannot back out. Is that my understanding? That once the taxes have been added to our tax bill each year, that we stay with that for the rest of our lives at the neighborhood? Okay, and then there's a complaint that there are large trucks coming in for garbage collection, and that's a safety hazard. Actually, the recycling trucks come before anybody's up, except for myself. I walk in the neighborhood, and I walk very early. And on top of that, we do have Amazon coming in 3 to 4 times a day. FedEx comes in about once a day. UPS not quite as much. So there are trucks coming in all the time to our neighborhood. It's not just the garbage trucks. And so I don't think that's a legitimate excuse to go with the tax billing for garbage collection. So that's me. I'm alone, and as I said, I don't have that much garbage. So.
Right, any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience opposed? Anyone else in the audience opposed?
Good evening. I'm Giovanna Morse. I'm at 324 Chanticleer Circle.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Proceed. Ma'am, can you talk in the mic so I didn't hear your name?
Giovanna Morse, Morse. And I'm here this evening. Usually it would have been my husband, but he's away right now due to a family matter. His aunt is not doing very well, so he's not able to attend. He's trying to call in, but I don't think he was successful. I just wanted to state that in addition to what Ms. Fry stated, I mean, I understand the safety and everything. I totally agree with all of that. The only thing that I'm struggling with, and my husband and I are struggling with this, is that we were able to get a less annual rate for the trash pickup. So for us to take this on, it's an increase for us. So that's the other side to our proposal on this. Thank you.
Any commissioners have any questions? Ma'am? Can I ask you what the rate difference is?
I'm sorry?
What the rate difference is?
Right now, it's just about $30 annual, but it is less.
Your other pickup, does that include yard waste?
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. But we don't do our own yard either, so that's
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Pepper.
Mr. Buxton.
Thanks. I need a question from Ms. Gold, and it may have been stated clearly at the beginning. Regrettably, though, we're not used to, or at least I'm not, used to sort of a split vote in these situations. Ms. Gold, what's the percentage of those in favor? Do you have that number on the petition? Was there a petition with that number?
Yes, sir. There are 46 residential lots. 30 of the property owners signed the petition and were verified by staff. That's 65% in favor. 16 property owners did not sign the petition. Any other questions?
That doesn't indicate a no vote. That doesn't indicate a no vote. It simply means they did not choose to weigh in for whatever reason. Is that fair?
Typically, you only sign the petition if you're in favor of it. So that means either the other folks were not in favor or were not aware of the petition being circulated.
Okay.
The cost for services for FY 2022 is $329 for the year for the 3 services. And of course, that's subject to revision, typically when we rebid the contract or extend the contract and the prices from the vendors are increased.
I'll repeat what I think you just said. The ones that, the 66%, so the remainders either chose not to sign it out of a de facto no vote, or they may have not been aware of the petition.
That is correct.
You said typically, but okay.
So what we did do is, in this case, is we did send out letters because the folks need to know that if this passes tonight, that they would have to cancel their existing service. So it's not necessarily typical that we send letters to everyone, but in this case, they were done.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good, Mr. Pepper.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience opposed? Anybody opposed?
Do we have anyone on WebEx who wishes to address this matter in opposition to Resolution 3866? Star 3 will raise your hand, and Star 6 will unmute you.
Participant Allison Kahn, you may proceed.
Hi, I'm not an opposition comment, but looking at the map presented, lots 80, 79, and 78 are not currently developed. So if that adjusts your statistics as far as available homes from 40 to 37, and the non-response to the petition would also drop by those 3 lots additionally to adjust your percentages.
Excuse me, sir. Are you Mr. Khan?
Yes.
Could you state your name and address, please, for the record?
Yes, it's Keith Khan at 955 Chanticleer Circle.
All right, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Pardon the interruption.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate you taking the time. This is the first time I've come across your lot map, and in your determination of 40 lots, it does appear that 3 of those have not been developed at this time. So that does adjust the non-response number.
Ms. Gold, are you aware of that? And did you make note?
Diana, you need to approach a microphone, so.
So what I believe I heard is that parcels 87, 88, and 89 should not be counted. We count all of them. So that there are 46 residential lots, so that it doesn't matter if a home has not been built on, they will be part of the district, and those property owners are allowed to petition and speak for or against the service.
I'm not sure if those were the correct lots. I think you said 78, 79, and 80.
Correct.
So the larger numbers, 78, 79, and 80, are the parcel numbers. Those are associated with the small numbers on the map, which are the lot numbers. And again, all owners were sent the letter and have the opportunity to provide testimony and are additionally allowed to sign the petition for service. So I don't know if it makes a difference for you all to know that there are folks who may not have signed because they were made aware of it in terms of our letter that we sent out.
Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Galt, are those 3 lots, are they individually owned, or is it owned still by the builder?
So which lots would you like me to answer for? Because
The 3 that didn't respond.
That's what I'm having trouble with.
78, 79, and 80.
Okay, so which are parcels ending in 78, which are lot 118, lot 119, and lot 78. And at the moment, I don't seem to have that information in front of me.
But even if it was developer, it would have gone to the person of record that owns the lot, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to get that on the record, so we have that.
And they are eligible to vote whether or not they received a letter, and they're eligible to give testimony whether or not they received the letter.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the phone opposed? Anyone else on phone opposed?
If you're on the WebEx, *3 will raise your hand, *6 will unmute you.
No one else on WebEx in opposition at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioner have any questions before we close the public hearing on Resolution 3866? Seeing no one, Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. And on behalf of Commissioner Sweeney's district, I'm going to read the synopsis that we were given into the record first. That way it's clear. And then I'll make my statement after that. This resolution establishes a garbage collection district named the Ponds of Willow Grove, Collection District 172. This resolution includes only residential properties within the described district and authorizes the county to contract with a service provider and charge the residents' units for the cost of the service. No commercial units within this district either receive the service or are charged a fee for the general county revenues used to pay for the service. Having read that, and based on the way we do things in the county and the petition, and 66% of the vote came through, I'm going to move to approve Resolution 3866 based on that, and I think that's the only way I can do it. Thank you.
Gotcha.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Maston to approve Resolution 3866. Any questions?
Excuse me, sir, I have a correction. It's actually 65%, not 66.
Okay.
Want to make sure that that's on the record before you make the vote.
Thank you.
I changed that, 65%. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, at this time, the public hearing is closed. Got a motion and roll call, please.
Mr. Angel,
Yes, as reason stated.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes, I want to quickly articulate that I respect the rights of those folks to express their concerns. It's a challenge living in a development, and I think you have somewhat of a democratic process, which was followed. I recognize that possibly as much as 35%, but probably less than that, were opposed to this. So based on that number, I'm going to support the motion to approve it.
Mr. Hall, absent. Mr. Howell,
Yes, reason stated.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney, absent. Mr. Pepper,
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals Resolution 3866 has been approved by Levy Court today. Okay, I will close the public hearings. And before we proceed to recess to committee meetings, I've neglected to introduce one of our Dover City councilmen has joined us tonight, Councilman David Anderson. David, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Maston, Finance Committee.
The first item we have on the agenda is the community event promotional grant request from the Frederica Farmers Market for $619. Do we have anyone here from the Frederica who would like to address the commissioners? Please step forward.
Hi, how are you? My name's Anita Hart. I'm from the town of Frederica. We have started a farmer's market. We've put it together in about 3 months, and we had a very nice showing on Sunday, which was our first day, even with the heat. We don't have an attendance number, but all of our 6 vendors left very happy, so they were very profitable. So we are asking for some more advertising for our market. We're off the beaten path a little bit, but we think if we could have a little bit more advertising, we might be able to pull in some of the beach traffic and some of the turf field participants. We have bought signs and banners to attract some more attendance, but we would like a little bit more radio advertising if possible. We're also asking for some more money for our reusable market bags that we put together, and we have those for our customers to use to put their things in. So they have really enjoyed these on Sunday. We had some giveaways, we had door prizes, and we just think it's a great community event for our town. We don't have anything quite like this, and it'll be happening every Sunday from 10 to 2 until September 5th. Any questions?
Fantastic. Any questions?
Yeah, let me jump in there, Commissioner.
Go ahead, Commissioner Buxton.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. And little town of Frederica is growing up, and when they reached out asking for some potential support, I think it's great. I think that all the little towns that are doing these markets is a way to generate interest and maybe build some community connection or what have you. And more specifically, interest in the town from the turf even. So hopefully you'll join me in supporting them. It's one of the reasons I was frustrated a few minutes ago when I couldn't figure out how to access this meeting. I was worried I was going to miss an opportunity to show support. So anyway, that's it. Excited about the opportunity to help them out.
Thank you, Commissioner Buxton.
Thanks.
Any other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Hart, I want to thank you for bringing forth. This is why the Levy Court developed this, so we could help the towns out. Plus, it gives us, us commissioners, a good rapport talking with our constituents and our leaders in their towns and communities. So thank you for bringing it forth.
Yes, and just to follow up with Mr. Buxton, we did have it was so nice for all of our neighbors to get together. You don't always see everyone as you're in your busy lives, but this was a great opportunity to make some connections with the people you don't always get to see, and also to provide some local services to our community as well. So,
yeah, I was down there. Commissioner Pepper, real quick.
Go ahead.
I was there obviously Saturday and got a chance to take a look at the new playground that Levy Court's participated in, and it's wonderful. And the farmers market's just another great addition. So, kudos, keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Buxton. Commissioner Masson, you have a question? Great. Commissioner Howe? Oh. You know, our tourism office, they're promoting Kent County's small villages, towns and villages. And by you doing what you're doing, that's helping promote tourism. So that's fantastic. I mean, you know, Frederica is going to grow whether you like it or not.
Yes.
So, you know,
I know.
It's good to do these kind of community events to keep people interested and to draw people in to let them see what Frederica is all about.
Right.
So,
And we did reach out to the tourism office as well, so they're helping us promote the market with some flyers and so forth. So they're helping us as well.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Commissioner Masson,
Okay, the next item on the agenda,
that we need.
I'm sorry. A
Dude.
show of hands in favor of,
This will advance to the business meeting?
Yes.
Later on this evening.
will advance to the business meeting.
Yes, my hand's raised.
Yeah, it's up, okay. Just checking.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 5 votes to move it on to later on this evening to the business meeting for formal action. So thank you. Next item, contract for reassessment.
Mr. Pettitman, would you like to address in Mrs. Dorham's absence?
Absolutely, Commissioner. Thank you very much. As commissioners know, we earlier this spring issued a request for proposals for real property reassessment services, and we did receive 2 submissions, one from Tyler Technologies and one from Pearson's Appraisal Services. And in the memo that was sent to you over the weekend, it detailed the timeframes that both entities propose for start and completion, as well as the price for their services. And at this time, we have forwarded a recommended motion to the commissioners that we will, if you so choose, we will consider later this evening during the business portion of the meeting. But we are recommending Tyler Technologies be selected for this project, and that we go with the more expedited schedule with the completion date of February 15th, 2024 for the price of $4,468,844. If there's any questions from the commissioners, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just one comment right now. Folks listening out in the audience and on WebEx, please know that we're not doing this because we wanted to. We're doing this because it was court ordered, and so we have no choice other than to proceed with a reassessment and finding a vendor that would give us a fair price to do that. And from what I see, the price by Tyler is considerably less than the other vendor. So just be aware that the county would do everything they can to save you, the taxpayer, money and save your money. Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Could I have a show of hands to advance this to the business meeting?
Is your hand up, Eric?
Yes. Yes. Regrettably, yes.
Yes.
Back to you, President.
Thank you. We have 5 yeas to move it forward to later on this evening. And any public comments on this, any of these 2 items? Community event promotional grant request and contract for reassessment. Any public comments?
If we have any guests online that wish to address this matter or on the phone line, *3 to raise your electronic hand, *6 to unmute yourself.
No one on WebEx at this time.
Okay, we'll adjourn the Finance Committee meeting and we'll go to the Administration Committee. Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pettimaz, Kent County Veterans Memorial Park proposed message center sign.
Thank you, Commissioner Angel. Before I get started, I have a revised memo to hand out to each of the commissioners. It was just finished a few moments before the meeting started. Thank you very much. Before I turn the floor over to our guest, Mr. Dale McAllister from First State Signs, representing this proposal, just want to explain what I just passed out to you. Over the weekend, you did receive a memo detailing the project that is being proposed, which is a freestanding monument sign at the Veterans Memorial Park at the corner of our property at Levy Court Lane and South Little Creek Road. And the memo included the graphics that was prepared by Mr. McAllister's firm, along with a proposed amendment to a previously approved DelDOT agreement regarding funding for the project. You'll recall back in February, we signed an agreement with DelDOT for Community Transportation Fund assistance with some parking lot repair at Browns Branch Park. And the correspondence from DelDOT represents effectively an amendment to that original agreement to add additional funding to cover the cost of the proposed sign. And so that is basically what you received in your package. And Mr. McAllister is going to go over with you the details of the sign. There's also a large signboard here, which I'll show in a moment as well. The revised memo that I just distributed to you basically revises the motion, the recommended motion that was provided to you over the weekend. And the reason it was amended to add some additional conditions has to do with the original agreement that we're proposing to amend. The DelDOT Community Transportation Fund agreements require, under normal circumstances, the county to follow our procurement process. And in this instance, due to the amount of the sign and the cost involved, it would require an open bid process. And what you will hear about in a moment from Mr. McAllister is his firm has been contacted to do this project directly. And in speaking with representatives at DelDOT and also considering it internally, looking at our procurement provisions, we would like to have, and what we build into the motion, requirements or conditions that the state provide us with authorization to allow the selected firm to proceed and to exempt us from the other requirements of following our procurement requirements normally. And that's an important step because otherwise we know that these projects are scrutinized, may take a little bit of time, but they're reviewed by the auditor. We want to make sure that we are either A, getting exempted from our own procurement requirements, and that B, the First State Sign Company is authorized to do this work for the state. So with those provisions, everything else is essentially the same as in the original memo that you received over the weekend. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to invite Mr. McAllister to approach the podium and speak to you about this project. And Dale, I'm going to come out and bring the graphic so you can reference it.
All right.
My name's Dale McAllister. I'm with First State Signs. To give you a brief Reader's Digest version of this project, right after Easter, I got a call from Mr. Davis, Paul Davis. Paul asked me if I would meet with him and Representative Carson and Mr. Petty-Damage and numerous other members of their committee to design a sign for the Memorial Park. Representative Carson was going to fund it. It's very similar to a project that I've done in the past at the Rotary Club, Rotarian Club, a polling place, I believe in Kenton. The state funded it, Representative Jeff Spiegelman, and I don't know about all the legal contracts, but all I know is that we designed it, DelDOT said yes, they paid the landowner in that case, which was the Rotarian Club, and it hence paid us. I do have a contract, as he said, with DelDOT. We currently do the roadside control or community entrance signs throughout the state. But back to this project, met with them, came up with several designs. They agreed on this one. After they agreed on this one, the committee and Representative Carson, we took it to the city of Dover to make sure it met their code. Their code is 32 square feet with a max height of 7 feet. Met with Dave Hugg and his staff. They reviewed it and gave us a verbal that they'll approve it. So we wanted to make sure what we brought to the state and that we eventually went to bid with would be permitted. Also in this contract, we're taking the existing sign that's there now that I did years ago for Mr. Davis. We're going to refurbish it, put PVC sleeves on it, repaint it, and move it over to Levy Court, the Levy Court Drive there. So that sign's going to be repurposed as well. After meeting with them, this is what we came up with. After we gave them the budget, Representative Carson had it funded, and that's where we are now. So it's been designed, bid, questions on the wall. The wall is being built by the Brick Doctor. They did all the stonework in the project. The electric is being done by Dave Thompson. He did the electrical work in that project. So we're using just all the local people who've always been involved with that project. So that's how we're doing it, and that's how and came up with the design and met with all the members. And there's a lot of unique history to this sign and the design and how they wanted it done. So mainly being the bronze plaque that you see there with the red cross, matching the Huey that's already there. So that's a design element, plus all the design elements are matching what's already in the park with the stone and the granite to make an attractive sign.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pettermont.
Thank you, Dale, for that explanation. If any of the commissioners, it's been a while since we've had to approve any amendments or changes to the Memorial Park, but I know Commissioner Maston's new to this. We have an agreement with a formal agreement with the Chapter 850 of Vietnam Veterans of America, and one of the provisions in that agreement, it dates back to 2009, is that whenever there's a proposal to make additional improvements, they must be approved by Levy Court. And so that's the first reason why you're being asked to consider this tonight, because this is county property, it's on county land, and we have a use agreement with the Chapter 850. And then the second element of that is with this CTF funding, the recipient has to be a public entity of the funds and the owner of the property. So in this instance, that is Levy Court. So the Chapter 850, they kind of are the stewards of the land, but Levy Court is the owner of the land. And so the agreement between DelDOT and whomever, in this instance, must be Levy Court for the funding. And the funding would come to Levy Court, and then Levy Court would become essentially the contracted party paying the vendor for the sign. And so that's if you were wondering why we were talking about procurement, that process that I just described doesn't follow the standard Kent County bidding process because they've already selected a vendor. I think the patch or the thing that would make that acceptable would be evidence that Mr. McAllister is authorized by the state of Delaware to do the work as a vendor of the state of Delaware. because we can buy off the state bids for products and things. Solicitor, do you have anything to add?
I agree with everything you just said.
Okay.
Mr. Angel.
Thank you. Simply put, Mr. Pedmaj, basically, we're just taking the money from the state. We're the pass-through, just like we do the taxes for the school. We hold the taxes until the schools need their money and they collect it. Same process as what we're doing for the sign, correct?
It is in terms of the flow of the funding, but the issue here, really, I think the concern is the procurement process.
Right. But it's clean and squeaky clean. That's all. That's what I want to make sure we're doing. So, thank you.
Any questions of Mr. McAllister? Just a couple. This might be obvious, but what's the purpose of the sign? What do they plan on advertising?
Well, Mr. Davis is very active throughout the whole country with the Vietnam veterans and all war veterans. And he's got a huge group of veterans coming in. It's the dust-off committee. He could explain it better than I could. And his purpose is, with the electronic message center, to welcome those people and to keep anybody coming to the park to know the history of the park, what's going on with the park, and it's to promote the park. And Mr. Petty Demise brought up one good point I should probably bring up. It was, could they advertise anything they want on that? And the answer is no. This is permitted by the city of Dover as an on-premise advertising sign. The only thing that they're permitted to advertise on this are things that are going on there or public service announcements. If they want to put a public service announcement up, and those are the POWs, the MIA, the things that group's involved with. But they're the ones who are going to control the message center. They can control it from anywhere in the country. It's going to be on Wi-Fi, and it'll just be their groups that have the password and the software to run it. So that's what he's going to do with it.
Yeah, that's what I was leading to pretty much. I want to make sure I didn't drive into Levy Court Lane back there and see an advertisement for 2 6-packs for $10 or something like that. Or so it just pertains to what happens at the park and public service
they could,
events.
Since it's on that, if they wanted to, they could, public service would be your announcements. If an Amber Alert came across or something came across, that's not, they could do something like that. But that's all you're allowed to do, on-premise advertising and public service.
Great, that satisfies me. Any other questions, anybody? Thank you. Mr. Pettermosh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dale, would it be possible for the county to also have access to the portal or whatever it is to provide messages, or not so much that we would use it for that purpose, but we do own the property, so I was just wondering if there was some interest in having some level of involvement in the actual use of the sign.
I would tell you, my answer to you is yes, you could, but I don't speak for the organization that you have the agreement with. But when we do the training, if somebody from the county wanted to be involved and and have the access, if you needed it, I would strongly recommend it. And I'm sure Mr. Davis would be in favor of it as well, knowing how community-minded he is.
Thank you.
An example of that would be if for some reason we were required to wear a mask in the county building again, it could be posted on that sign to let people know they wouldn't need to wear a mask as they come in the building. Great, thank you.
All right.
Okay, move us forth to the business meeting. Hands, please. Mr. Buxton?
Mark, do we still see?
I'm good. I'm in a rainstorm, so I'll be off.
Okay. Shows 5 in favor and 2 absent.
Okay.
Next item, Boys and Girls Club release, alteration to the building. Mr. Bettermach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You received a memo in your packet and had some photographs attached to it over the weekend that detailed a situation that has arisen at the Boys and Girls Club that came to our attention last week. And I believe Mr. Wellens the statewide executive director for the Boys and Girls Club, the CEO for the Boys and Girls Club, is on the call, and he's going to be addressing Levy Court. And he also has some slides that we'll be showing. Mark, do you have those ready? While Mark's loading them up, and just to tee this up a little bit, as you all know, we opened the building in 2016. We have a partner in the Boys and Girls Club. It's a wonderful relationship between the county and the Boys and Girls Club. And we have a great facility there, great recreation facility, and a great Boys and Girls Club facility, and we share resources. We have a long-term lease. The Boys and Girls Club are a land lease tenant there. They own their building, but they lease the land. It's a 99-year lease. And part of that lease provides that if there's ever any exterior modifications, changes to the building, this sort of thing, that the landlord, which is Kent County Levy Court, gets the opportunity to review any proposed changes and to approve them. And what has taken place is the Boys and Girls Club have been experiencing for some time now, and Mr. Wellens will explain it in more detail, problems with their HVAC system. They have central air, central heating, and they've had a lot of problems, very costly. And the solution, after I guess some consideration, was to go with an alternative solution for the building, for their building, which involves multiple units to be applied to the exterior of the building. And so we got involved when we started to see the construction happening, and we talked with the Boys and Girls Club, John Wellens, myself, and we agreed to stop work and come to this meeting and explain what's going on. And then Mr. Wellens also has some proposals to minimize the visual effects of these on the building. I'm going to stop right there and ask John Wellens, are you on the call?
I am, Mike. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Please proceed, John, and welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Hey, can I operate these slides ready to ask for them to be moved forward?
You can just give me the cue to advance when you need me to.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. The next slide then. First, really appreciate your allowing me to be on the agenda for tonight. And, you know, being here, this is, the horse has kind of left the stable a little bit, and must apologize for that. You know, would have liked to have been here before we started on this work, but here we are, and, you know, glad that, that Mike let us know that we needed to do this before we got even farther along. But as Mike said, we have had some challenges with the HVAC system that we have on our side of the building there. It is something called a VRF system that is very integrated, one that has been very problematic. These systems, which are have a tendency to have challenges with the compressors and a lot of other things that I really can't explain, not being an HVAC tech. But it has been a significant challenge for us, and very disappointing, you know, given the age of the equipment. As you can see here, we've had some significant repairs, and we've been trying to figure out a solution. And the consultants that we've worked with have advised us that replacing the Incon system is really not a smart decision. When we put that in, it was fairly new technology, and they've proven really unreliable. So the Incon replacement was not one that we could pursue. The other element, traditional kind of boiler chiller system, was one that was extremely costly, and as a result, we left that on the table to go with what we did, or are planning on doing. Next slide, please. So what we have, and you'll see some from these pictures, you know, really a mini split system that you may be familiar with. Certainly when you see the pictures, you will. It is a little more economical versus those other solutions, but certainly not an inexpensive proposition. And you know, one of the best things about this system and the design that we have is that, you know, when we do have HVAC failures, they'll be limited to specific zones. The existing system is one where when something goes down, almost an entire wing of the building goes down. And in fact, that has happened on Friday, and we were without HVAC in a portion of the building, which is certainly problematic on days like the ones we've had over the last few. They will allow for ease of maintenance and access to those pieces of equipment. But we also know that with this design, it's going to require some screening to limit the visual impact that you have from New Burton Road. Next slide, please. So you can see here the top picture is taken from view from New Burton Road side of the building, looking at what we refer to as the meeting rooms of our building. And as you're looking at this picture to your left, if you were to walk around the corner where those windows are, you would be on the front facade of the building. You see here 8 units that have been attached. Actually, all but one of those are superimposed here to give you an idea of what they would look like. On the bottom picture, which is on the classroom, so we call the classroom side of the building, these have been installed. And those in the upper picture, when installed, will have those pipes or exhaust pipes going into the building, just like this. We recognize that these are, not what you want to necessarily see. So part of the original design was to have some of these mounted on the very front of the building, and we will not be doing that. But we also plan to, once we get hopefully approval from you to move forward with this, would like to come back to Mr. Pettit-Damage and his team with agree on a screening plan, whether that's with some type of attractive fencing or possibly some additional shrubbery or landscaping that would screen those, but not interfere with the units and how they need to operate. Next slide, please. These two pictures show the bottom, the rear of the building. You can see there and how the units are attached to the rear of the building. And then you can see here the top picture is actually in the little alcove where we have off of the preschool wing that has a small playground set up. So you can see where it's designated to have more units installed, just like the ones that are here. We don't have a plan to do any screening on these, just because of the challenge of where they're mounted, as well as the fact that the top picture, those units are screened somewhat by the way that they're set back in the building, as well as the playground. And then on the bottom, possibly we could put up some fencing or something like that, but that would also maybe impede the sidewalk there. So the intent was to leave those as is right there, as you see. I think there might be one more slide, or maybe that's it. That's it. I'll take any questions that you may have.
If I could, before the commissioners ask questions, Mark, if you could back it up one slide to there. In your packet, we did include some photos also, and on page 3, if you compare your page 3 photos in your memo to these images here, the top image shows, as Mr. Wellens indicated, these units have not been, there's one unit installed on that wall right now, and you can see it in the picture at the top. It's by the door, and the rest are not there yet. But I think under the plan originally, there would probably be 4 units across this wall, and then the balance of them were going to occur on your memo. The bottom picture of page 3 is the front of the building, and when Mr. Wellens and I talked, we both agreed we did not think placement of these units across the front of the building would be very a good placement for them. So I think the alternative that Mr. Wellens is proposing is taking the units that were planned to be on the front of the building and putting them on this the side of the building, New Burton Road side. So going from 4 to, it looks like there's 8 units across that westerly face of the building, if you will, and that kind of preserves the front facade. I think also Mr. Wellens shared with me they did investigate whether or not they could put these on the roof, and there's some load-bearing issues for portions of the roof here where they just would not be appropriate to put them on the roof, and then of course nobody likes to put holes in roofs. and I agree with that. He also, it's not a good thing to put multiple holes in a perfectly fine roof. So I just wanted to point those two things out as well. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Commissioner Angel.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. I just want to go on record that this is John from Boys and Girls Club. This is what I was proposing when we were building our gym to look at because of the high efficiency of the units and the cost of electric being greatly reduced. And as a matter of fact, I had this proposal yesterday on my property, and the only thing I want to say is if you're looking at a Sanyo unit, it's been bought up by Panasonic, and there's not supposed to be any parts left for Sanyo in the United States. So, hope it's not a Sanyo. Keep with a name brand if you're buying for us, so you can get parts. Anybody else? Any questions?
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
Mr. President.
Just aesthetics. This isn't doing anything to make the building look any better. Kind of detracts from it quite a bit, I believe. So up on where those 8 units are, is shrubbery going to be proposed there, or fencing or anything? And because I see on the bottom picture, it says shrubbery or black fence to match playground. Same thing on the other side of the sidewalk there. These units on the, where the 8 units are proposed, what's going to go there to cover that up? Because that really is unattractive to me.
Something similar to something similar to what's would be proposed in the bottom picture. Additional shrubbery or a fence to match, and we would get a landscape designer to look at that and bring it back to Mr. Pettit and make sure that, and if it needs to come to Levy Court, that's fine too. But yes, that's definitely something so that they don't stick out. Quite like this.
Yeah, so like I said, it doesn't do anything for the looks of the building. And sorry, another type of heating system didn't work out, but as long as we have the black fence or shrubbery to cover this up, it'd be a necessity for you to go this route, I guess, because of the funding. So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Move this forth to business meeting. Mr. Buxton?
Is he still on, Mark?
No, I think someone from the Kent County Community Services wants to speak at this time.
Oh, it may be Jeremy.
Oh, okay, Jeremy.
Greetings. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to say that, I know that this project is important to the Boys and Girls Club. Those kids, especially during the summertime, need their air conditioning, and of course during the wintertime need heat. My one concern that I just want to make sure the Levy Court understands is that as the property owner, Kent County Levy Court through Parks and Recreation is responsible for maintenance of all the land. So I would just like to understand what our responsibility would be moving forward for any type of additional landscaping, just from a maintenance standpoint ongoing. That's my only question. Thank you.
John, are you still on?
I am, yes. And at this point in time, Kent County does mow the grass around that particular area. We take care of the mowing grass inside the playground areas at this time. And certainly we would be installing, any landscaping that would go here or fencing that would go there as well, depending on what ends up looking best.
And because the units are off the ground, it makes it easier for trimming and mowing, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Jeremy, does that take care of your question? Any other questions?
I mean, I completely understand what he's saying, but what I guess what I need clarification is like 5 years down the road, if there's landscaping and shrubbery and bushes and they die, who's responsible for putting them back?
John, I'm going to put it back in your corner, sir.
Yeah, if they die, we can put them back. We'll replace them.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
And I think one other thing I would say is that for that matter, I would point out this side of the building does get an extreme amount of sun, especially this time of year. So I think it would be a mix, and maybe we end up with fencing, but again, we would bring that back and make sure that Mr. Pettermage and his team are okay with it.
Okay, Mr. Pettermage and then Mr. Buxton's on the line too.
You just said something, and Eric Buxton's calling me on my cell phone. I'm not sure what's going on here. What I wanted to say is the memo that you received, we did not create a motion because we weren't sure. This first time we had a situation where we brought it back like this and wasn't sure exactly how we were going to approach this. But in the business meeting portion, if we advance this to the business meeting, I would say that we address the issue of the screening and also the obligation to maintain the screening on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club moving forward. We will continue to do routine maintenance of landscaping, all landscaping materials, including trimming and cutting grass and all the stuff that we are obligated to do under the lease. But if, as Director Shepard pointed out, if there's a material that becomes damaged or landscape material that dies, then it would be the responsibility of the Boys and Girls Club to repair and or replace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettermage. Anybody else? Move forth to the business meeting. Mr. Buxton?
We're getting all kinds of new turf here, but he sent me an audio file. I don't know if he wants me to share that or not, but I'm in the public meeting, so I guess, should I share it? I'm not sure what he wants me to do with it.
If it's on the topic, yes. How do we know it's on the topic?
Called in on the phone. I tried to use the WebEx link. Yeah, I'm not there. You can tell I'm frustrated, but I shouldn't have to be there to get on this damn thing.
Okay, we'll share that later.
Four commissioners in favor of moving it to the business commission.
Chat.
You're on now, Commissioner.
Can somebody hear me before I jump in?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
It's irrelevant. Just go ahead. Thanks.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, we'll move it to the business section.
I got
For
a
in favor.
comment. We got to get better.
All right, next item, Resolution 3889, resolutions in support of HB 221 relating to the administrator and Kent County government. Mr. Pettermage.
Thank you, Commissioner Angel. You all will recall a few months ago, the Levy Court leadership had requested Mr. Eliason to do a review of Title IX with respect to the county administration and what Title IX provides in terms of description and responsibilities and duties and so on pertaining to Kent County versus the other counties, and particularly Sussex County. And what was discovered is there's a marked absence of much of any mention of the county administration in Kent County's provisions, Title IX, Chapter 41, and a significant body of law in Title IX, Chapter 70, which is the Sussex County body of law with respect to county administration. And so the direction was to prepare a proposed amendment to Title IX, which was done by Mr. Eliason, and then that was shared with Levy Court, and the direction was to seek its introduction, seek its preparation in terms of a proper bill for introduction to the General Assembly. And so that has happened, and the bill was introduced last Thursday. It's House Bill 221. It was sponsored by Representative Bush, Bennett, Spiegelman, Pardee, Carson, Senators Ennis, and Senators Lawson. It's been introduced and assigned to the Housing and Community Affairs Committee of the House. I'm not sure when it'll be heard yet, but my understanding is Commissioner Angel had conversation with Senator Pardee, who had requested Levy Court consider a resolution in support of this House bill. And so today we drafted up a resolution, and it's in your packet. We added this today to the agenda, and we added it at least 6 hours in advance, so we meet the FOIA requirements for additions to the agenda. And so the resolution 3889 is a resolution of support for House Bill 221 that would detail out the duties and responsibilities of the Office of the County Administrator, along with the provisions for hiring of the county administrator and all the other responsibilities conferred to the county administrator's office by the law. And it effectively makes it a statutory office. Currently, it is not in Kent County. Newcastle County is a little different. They're completely different, really. They're a council executive form of government where the executive is elected and there's a separation of power. Newcastle, they're a lot different than the other two counties. Sussex and Kent are commission forms of government where the executive authority still rests in the body, the elected body, and you have appointed administrators, which are essentially chief operating officers for the county government. So, having said that, I wanted to ask Council, I'm sorry, if he had anything to add there.
Yeah, I would just say that you make a good point. Kent County Levy Court, Sussex County Council organized in such a way that they're hybrids. They have executive and legislative functions. Newcastle County isn't like that at all. It's separated. So the model to better organize, to streamline, to integrate the functions of county government, in my view at least, is the statute that Sussex has had in place for a while. And the key ingredients of HB 221 incorporate those provisions. There are a few other bells and whistles in there, cleaning up some things. We found the same statute in two different places. I mean, who knew, right? So we're gonna repeal one of those just to kind of tidy that up. But the essence of it is a much better, statutory architecture, if you will, for the county administrator.
President Pepper?
Yes, and this in no way changes the name of Levy Court to County Council, correct?
It does not.
Great, thank you.
I just want to make a quick statement on this too, because it's crazy that in our state it only has 3 counties. We have different laws and sections for all 3 different counties. And basically what we're doing is we're basically lining ourselves up with our southern partner to do the same thing. And that's basically have a chain of command that's straight and forward and spells it out by law, where this wasn't. It was confusing for our legal counsel. So hence this makes it even better for everybody. So having said that, any further questions? Mr. Buxton.
Well, I didn't know you were listening to me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Hey, that's great. And my apologies. I would just like to state for the record that I'd agree. And if the only hang-up is Levy Court, then we can be the county council formerly known as Levy Court, kind of like Prince did back in the day. Anyway, that's my way of not being frustrated anymore. Thanks. See you.
Thank you, Mr. Buxton. Move this forth to the business meeting. Mr.
Yes.
Okay, 5 up, 2 absent. Any public comments on any of these 3 items? Any public comments? Mark, anybody online?
If there is someone who's on the phone who would like to make a comment, you can press star 3 to raise your hand, star 6 to unmute. No one on WebEx at this time.
One more call for public comments. Seeing nobody moving forth, back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll move on to the Public Safety Committee. Mr. Hall is absent tonight. Mr. Vice President, you get to do this too.
Thank you. Mr. Faulkner, you want to come up, please?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to make a few comments, and then I'm going to ask Kevin Sipple to make a few comments as well. But briefly, throughout our state and the nation, public safety telecommunications officials are in a movement to reclassify our dispatchers as first responders. And a little bit of the backstory, and it's detailed in your memorandum, but according to the Department of Labor's 2018 Standard Operations Classification System, our dispatchers are categorized as bookkeepers, accountants, and office clerks. And further add insult to injury, the Federal Office of Management and Budget justified this decision by stating that most dispatchers were precluded from administering actual care. And a little bit further back, as a result of 9/11, there was a Homeland Security Presidential Directive 8, which created an all-hazard approach for emergency preparedness after the September 11th attacks, which our commissioners just adopted their plan a few weeks back. But that plan defines, that directive defines first responders as individuals who in the early stages of an incident are responsible for the protection and preservation of life, property, evidence, and the environment. Back in March 7th of 2019, Congresswoman Norma Torres, who was a prior dispatcher, and FBI Special Agent Brian Fitzpatrick introduced H.R. 1629, which is 911 Saves Act. This is a bill to reclassify the dispatchers to first responders, and this bill will give our dispatchers the resources, the benefits, and the recognition they deserve. And there's not a first responder out there, no matter what badge or what agency you're representing, that will have any issues with this. Our dispatchers do an outstanding job, and I'm going to let Mr. Sipple speak as well to some of the things that they do. But and also, at the end of my memo, there is a proposed motion for the commissioners to consider. But Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, just stand up.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Commissioners. As Colin mentioned, this is an initiative that started several years ago, and through the state 911 board here in Delaware, it was brought up there and recognized. Newcastle County did this about 2 months ago, and they've asked us to start at the ground roots level at the municipal and county levels to move up to the state, onto the federal government, trying to get this approved. Our dispatchers over the years, their jobs have changed tremendously. When I started, it was a piece of paper and a pen, and you had RD box numbers. Today, everything is driven by technology. All of our employees are certified in protocols for medical, fire, and police. So when a 911 call comes in, we have standardized triaging questions that we ask. We provide pre-arrival instructions, whether it's a childbirth, cardiac arrest, to a hostage situation where we can give pre-arrival instructions. So what we're asking of you tonight is to support this endeavor, to show that the dispatchers are truly the first responders. We're there within seconds, where it may take individuals that are responding in vehicles up to 10 to 15 minutes to arrive to some of these locations. Especially in a cardiac event, the American Heart Association recognizes the dispatchers. If you've ever looked at the chain of survival, immediate defibrillation, immediate hands on the chest are important, and our dispatchers are there within seconds. So again, on behalf of our department, we look for your endorsement on this so we can move it up to the state. Hopefully at the state level, they will work to push this on up to the federal government. And also today, we do have several of our employees here that work tirelessly for our division, and I'd like to thank them for everything that they do. Thank you.
Any questions, commissioners? Mr. Buxton?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. One of the things I hear you saying, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Buxton.
No. I just said thank you.
Okay, thank you. One of the things I just heard you say is that they're all certified, and in a national disaster, actually, our dispatchers then would become part of the integral team of life-saving.
Yes,
that's what I'm hearing.
That's correct.
Okay.
And just to add to that, we're an accredited center, nationally recognized for what we do, and that is not an easy task to accomplish. And that's just not the administration doing the work. That's the individual employees providing the quality assurance and making sure that they're following protocols and providing the services to the citizens of Kent County. So a lot of what that is the grassroots sitting in that seat and taking care of the citizens in Kent County.
That's why we have the best in our state, right here in Kent County.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all. Any other buddy, Mr. President?
Yeah, just a couple comments. It's about time. I mean, like you said, they're there in seconds to answer that phone. They got to be calm, cool, and collected. They have to be able to talk people through things that the rest of us wouldn't want to have to do. And, their knowledge and expertise saves many lives. So they are the first responder. It may not be there in person, but they're there on the other end of that phone. So about time.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Buxton.
may I speak?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sipple.
Yes, Mr. Buxton.
Sipple, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Right. We're in a committee and we're just talking. And I should have called you sooner. So I'm going to ask it in public anyway. As you describe it, and as I understand it, and respect the duty and the work that they do and their certifications, it appears to be such, don't get me wrong, it's a big deal for the individuals that we are talking about. But for myself as an elected official being asked to support it, it seems like a simple task. Where are the complexities in this? Why is there a challenge that I don't see? Is there something that I'm not asking? Because it seems like it's a no-brainer. So I'm asking you, is there something that's heavy lift that I don't see? In your opinion?
No, not in the state of Delaware. Now, you could go further with this. If you search the internet, you look at other states, the way they've adopted things like this, there's mental health opportunities. There's a lot of things that first responders get, in other states. What we're looking for here in Kent County and the state is just that recognition that, that we are considered first responders as the units are actually on the street.
I must admit, I'm surprised because I always considered the call center first response. As a matter of fact, they are the definition of first response. So I appreciate you asking me or allowing me to ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Move it forth for the business meeting. Mr. Buxton?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
5 up, 2 absent. Okay, next is the proposed paramedic training program provisions. Mr. Coelho?
Thank you, Commissioner Angel. So in your packets for tonight's meeting is revisions to Kent County's paramedic trainee program. The original policy was adopted back in 2006, and it was designed very specifically for the paramedic trainee program that's at Delaware Technical Community College. And as you know from a presentation by the Chief Faulkner a few weeks ago, there's interest in expanding that to other offerings, colleges, institutions. So it was necessary to amend the policy to permit that flexibility. We also included in the packet a draft, not that it's part of the policy, but just for your edification, the draft contract that we provide to the trainees whenever they enroll in the program, and it has been tweaked a little bit since that original submission to you back in May, along with the promissory note that they sign, and even interestingly, the conditions of employment that each one of these trainees are asked to sign whenever they're hired on. So you will note there's a number of changes primarily related to the institution where they may go, provides quite a bit of flexibility, and does provide for the possibility of additional remuneration if the levy court were so inclined to do that. So if you do decide to move forward with the proposal as requested, you would get a budget amendment which would include all of the costs, estimated costs of the program moving forward for fiscal year 22. Chief Faulkner may have a few words he would like to say, unless there's questions. Chief?
Thank you. Push this down, it's shorter. Since the last time we addressed commissioners, we talked about a critical need for paramedics, and we just don't have them. There's not enough training resources in the state of Delaware to provide the paramedics. Well, things haven't improved in a few weeks since I've been here, and we've had a couple of more departures, and it's conceivable that at the end of July we'll be down 9 paramedics. Now we continue to canvass and try to attract folks to our agency, and we have a good line on 2 of the Del Tech students. We've made provisional offers of employment to them pending success, but that still doesn't put us ahead of the game, so to speak. I've formalized a request to the state of Delaware to exercise an option on a single medic response if a determination is made that paramedics are going to be working such long hours that they could be a detriment to patient care, or if operations just requires that. We have canvassed basically 3 training institutions. Good Fellowship, which is up in Pennsylvania. Their tuition is about $11,000 a year. And then Chesapeake College, which is over in the state of Maryland, their tuition is approximately $12,410. And then Delaware Tech, they have a couple of options on tuition, but basically on application, their tuition is $17,446, and that is because they have to take prerequisite courses such as, I think, chemistry and anatomy and phys, and a few things like that. And then once they have the prerequisites, they're actually then, if they're successful, accepted in the program, and then the tuition then is about $11,300. We are, and my staff, attracted to the Good Fellowship option. If we hire a person that's already trained as an EMT, and they have a class that will be starting at the end of August, they will be done the following August. And the program is designed as such that it spans over the weekend, which means we could draft any candidate back into the department so they could also observe and work with their paramedics. So it's a double benefit for us. I've spoken to the leadership at Good Fellowship, and they are willing to hold 3 positions for us, but they don't want to hold them forever. We would need to have some sort of response to them relatively soon, and I mean, it's business, basically. And but they have offered to hold 3 positions if we want to send candidates up there. Consensus in my staff is that's the way to go. The 3 positions would it would allow. We've never been fully. We have been fully staffed a few times in my career, but typically that is the exception, and not the standard. We always have openings, and I think someone had asked me how this would actually work, and for example, in a scenario that we didn't have any openings at the time they graduated, and that's detailed on the training and conditions of employment acknowledgement on number 2, and basically I think they're offered another position in the county, or they'll be held, well, I can read. Once you've completed the DCCC program at Academy and have become certified as a nationally registered EMT paramedic, you could be offered a position as paramedic 1 with King County. Every effort will be made to ensure that a position is available for you. However, if no paramedic positions are open at the time of your graduation, you may be temporarily placed in another county position, or if no position is available, leave without pay status until a position becomes available. We don't really see that happening. We always have positions available for the students or the candidates. But what we would like, what I think is necessary, is to have approval to approach good fellowship to hold those positions until the commissioners adopt a budget for this, if there's interest on the part of the commissioners. We're really, quite frankly, in the street, we're in dire straits. We just can't run the full service on a staff that we don't have. So.
Yes, Mr. Pendermarsh.
Mr. Angel, thank you, Colin, for presenting that, particularly the information about good fellowship. Question would be, how quickly do you think you might be able to have a budget for the 3 units that you just talked about?
For the 3 candidates? Well, we've already detailed what their pay scale would be, so we have that already, and we also know what the schools are going to cost, and I think combined with what is probably going to come to about $75,000 a person, maybe 80, salary and going through school. I think that would be salary and bennies as well, give or take, with a margin, small margin.
If, and we'll probably discuss this tomorrow in leadership, but if we were able to put it on for consideration next week in committee, would you be ready to have something more formal?
I can prepare a memo for the commissioners that will detail the costs.
Great, thank you.
Based on the good fellowship proposal.
Anybody else? Mr. Buxton?
No, I appreciate the Commissioner Angel. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief Faulkner, I think we've known about this crisis for quite some time. Time's not healing it. We've asked you for some solutions. You're an expert in the field who might have challenged your solution. I will support it because I see no other path forward. So, and as you stated, it's a crisis that's growing. So, that's my summary of this situation. It is what it is, and I think we have to act. So I support it. Thanks.
There was a point when Delaware Tech, which is their primary resource for paramedic candidates in the state, they're the only training agency that's recognized. They were running 2 cohorts. And they're in fact, I think, funded by grants through the state, the Delaware, because there's only 8 people in that program right now. That's not enough to pay for the full court press that's required in terms of fiscal management of the program, so they get grants from the state. But they went down from 2 cohorts. And it wasn't the Del Tech's fault, but at a most critical juncture in the history of our paramedic program, we have all these retirements down to 1 cohort. basically they run 2 classes, they went down to 1 class. And that hurt us a lot because it limited the amount of folks that were entering the field. The good thing about what we're proposing with good fellowship is, is that we can hire and train. A lot of the folks, for example, that currently work the ambulance services, they can't afford to quit their jobs and go to school to become a paramedic, but they can if we're paying them a salary. And we would be, to me, it's an opportunity for some of the fire service and the ambulance service agencies out there that may have folks that are so inclined to move forward and become a paramedic. We would welcome that, and it would be my thoughts that I would put a memorandum out to the chiefs in Kent County the day after you approve and let them know this opportunity is out there so that they can push it forward to the first responders, because we'll have a short time frame to select candidates, and we want to be successful in how we do this. So.
Anybody else?
Mr. Angel.
Yes, Mr. Buxton.
Mr. Angel.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Chief, well stated. I like what you just said. And I think that you're going to be able to catch some fish, some quality candidates, by doing just what you said. So appreciate your efforts, and I appreciate your frankness in the discussion tonight, which is, we're in dire straits. It's time to act. So anyway, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Chief, have you given any thought, or is there any way that you can temporarily backfill those positions somehow with, casual seasonals or whatever? I mean,
yes, sir. We offer our latest retirements the opportunity to do that, and we haven't had much success with it. And the only other resources that we would really have are Newcastle and Sussex, and quite frankly, they have all the overtime they need. It's just, they're just not there.
Well, Chief, after our discussion on getting to this point and the shortage of paramedics and them retiring as they should when they want, I did reach out to Representative Carson to tell him that, it's going to get to the point, and we had this discussion years ago, as I said, that we need a call. We want somebody to be able to respond and save a life. And I asked him to look at the funding the way we used to do it, and to go back to a 50-50 or 60-40 split. And he reached back to me and said that each county is looking at receiving, and they can do what, they haven't given us all the parameters, but they're looking at giving us $100,000 to each county to help on this. So it hasn't happened yet. I just want to put it forth that that's what I was told. So that's a positive that we could probably use that for keeping somebody, utilizing somebody, so we don't have a shortage.
Absolutely.
So I hope that comes to fruition.
We do as well.
Having said that, any other commissioners? Move it forth to the business meeting. Mr. Buxton?
Thank you. Yes, support.
5 in favor and 2 absent. Okay, any public comments on this item, these 2 items? Any public comments? Anybody online, Mark?
For callers on the WebEx call, you can press *3 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you'd like to make comments at this time. No takers, sir.
Okay, last call for public comments. Seeing none, Mr. President, back to you, sir.
thank you. We'll reconvene the business meeting. No old business, new business, potential action items from the committee meetings. First item falls under Mr. Hall, which falls under Mr. Angel.
Thank you. Any further questions before I move forth? Seeing none, I move to reclassify our Kent County 911 emergency dispatchers to the first responder designation classification, which is consistent with their roles and their responsibilities in the public safety spectrum and similar to police, fire, and EMS.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Maston for reclassification dispatchers to first responders. Can we have any questions? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Angel,
Yes, definitely.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall, absent.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
that wasn't Mr. Hall, right? Mr. Hall, absent. Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney, absent. Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the reclassification of dispatchers to first responders has been approved by Levy Court.
Go ahead, Mr. President. Proposed paramedic trainee program, policy revisions P21-03. Any further questions before I make the motion? Seeing none, I move to approve Kent County Levy Court policy revision P21-03 to section 26-1, paramedic trainee program as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Howell to approve the proposed paramedic trainee program policy revisions P2103. Any questions? Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel,
Yes, definitely.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall, absent. Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney, absent. Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Proposed paramedic trainee program policy revisions P21-03 have also been approved by Levy Court. Mr. Angel, back to you.
Just give me a second here. Okay. That's cool. I forgot we had the new one. I had the old one. Okay, I move to approve the proposed sign contingent upon the following conditions being met. Number 1, the state of Delaware shall provide written authorization to Kent County indicating that the select contractor is duly authorized to install the proposed sign. And number 2, the proposed amendment to Community Transportation Fund Agreement number 21-P-PROG-57 dated May 27, 2021 shall be revised to exempt Kent County Levy Court from the provisions of Section 2, Item 3 of that document pertaining to the county procurement and awards of contracts. And number 3, I further move to authorize the Levy Court President to sign the amendment to Community Transportation Funds Agreement P-21-PRG-57 as prepared by the Delaware Department of Transportation to add $59,875 to said agreement upon completion of the aforementioned conditions, number 1 and 2, and to sign any and all other necessary or required documentation to enable the installation of the proposed sign. And number 4, that the Vietnam Veterans Chapter 850 or its agent shall obtain all required City of Dover sign placement permits prior to installation of the proposed sign. And number 5, that said community transportation funds be received by Kent County shall be used for the sole purpose of payment to the sign contractor to cover the cost of construction and installation of the proposed monument sign.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Howe. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Buxton,
Yes.
Mr. Hall, absent. Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mrs. Maston,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney, absent. Mr. Pepper,
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals. Motion passed. Item number 2, Commissioner Angel.
Yes, Boys and Girls Club lease, alteration to building exterior. I move to authorize the installation of the mini-split HVAC units at the Boys and Girls Club as presented, with units limited to placement on the southerly and westerly sides of the building, only that such units shall be screened from view by fencing, landscaping, and/or a combination of both to be installed by the Boys and Girls Club, after approval of the county administrator, with ongoing repair and/or replacement responsibilities remaining that of the Girls and Boys Club Incorporated.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Mastens on the alteration to the building exterior of Boys and Girls Club. And any questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
I was hung up during the discussion, although I heard it. I just want to state for the record, the Boys Club was thrown a curveball, and we're dealing with it. It is what it is. So, yes, I support it.
Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes, reason stated.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Yes, reason stated.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the alterations have been approved by Levy Court. Item number 3, Resolution 3889, Commissioner Angel.
Commissioner Angel, I think the appropriate thing to do here, this is a resolution that should be read into the record, and if there's any additional discussion, or then a motion. So if you'd like, I could read it into the record, or Ms. Tanaka could read it into the record.
Would you please? I'm a little winded.
Okay. Would you like to read it, Ms. Tanaka?
If you'd like to, that's
Go ahead.
fine. Resolution 3889, a resolution in support of House Bill 221, whereas the position of County Administrator for Kent County Levy Court manages the day-to-day affairs of the county government and functions as the Chief Administrative Officer and Principal Advisor to Kent County Levy Court. And whereas the County Administrator is responsible for the supervision of all county department directors, managers, and employees, is charged with the preparation, management, and oversight of the annual operating budget for Kent County and the ultimate implementation of adopted ordinances, regulations, projects, and policies set forth by Kent County Levy Court. And whereas Kent County Levy Court desires to establish the position of County Administrator for Kent County as a statutory position under the laws of the state of Delaware, to clearly define the process for appointing the County Administrator and for establishing the duties and responsibilities conferred upon the County Administrator as a matter of law. And whereas House Bill 221 would have the effect of establishing the position of County Administrator as a statutory position under the laws of the state of Delaware by incorporating enabling law into Delaware Code Title 9, Chapter 41, governing Kent County, that mirrors precisely the enabling law previously enacted by the state of Delaware for Sussex County, Delaware, in Delaware Code Title 9, Chapter 70. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kent County Levy Court does hereby express its unequivocal support for the passage of House Bill 221, be it further resolved on this, the 8th day of June in the year 2021, that the Levy Court of Kent County does hereby urge all members of the House of Representatives and the Senate to cast their support in favor of passage of this legislation and respectfully request that the governor sign this House bill into law upon passage by the General Assembly. And that completes my reading of Resolution 3889.
Move to approve House Bill 221, Resolution 3889.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is made to approve Resolution 3889 by Commissioner Angel, Commissioner Maston, and I believe Commissioner Buxton thirded it. Any questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes, definitely.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals that Resolution 3889 has been approved by Levy Court. Continuing on, new business, Mrs. Maston.
I move to award a community event promotional grant in the amount of $619 to the town of Frederica, Delaware, to assist with the cost of promotional materials and commercial radio broadcast advertising to advertise and promote the 2021 Frederica Farmers Market.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Maston, seconded by Commissioner Howell to approve the community event promotional grant request by Frederica, Delaware. Any questions? May we have roll call, please?
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals that the community grant has been approved for Frederica Farmers Market. Item number 2, Commissioner Maston.
Okay, contract for reassessment. I move to award the contract for the real property reassessment project to Tyler Technologies in the amount of $4,468,844 with a project completion date of February 15th, 2024, and authorize the President of Levy Court to sign the contract once it is receives approval of the county attorney and/or the county administrator.
Second motion.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Maston, second by Commissioner Angel. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. Roll call reveals the contract has been awarded to Tyler. That ends the potential action items from the committee meetings. Commissioner Buxton, are you able to do the reading for the reintroduction? Or do you want Commissioner Angel to do it? Go ahead.
I think you're astute in your observation, so please have Commissioner Angel have at it.
Thank you. Commissioner Angel, please.
Okay, reintroduce an ordinance, LC 21-10, an ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan map designation and the official zoning map of Kent County, Delaware, pursuant to provisions of Kent County Code, Volume 2, Chapter 205 zoning, Article 3, Section 205-8, Section 205-9, and Article 28, changes and amendments effective December 1st, 2000, as amended, reference application CZ-2103 for public hearings on Tuesday, July 27th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. The reintroduction has been read for LC 21-10. Mrs. Maston, introduction.
Introduction of ordinance LC 21-12, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of Kent County refunding revenue bonds in the amount not to exceed $3,500,000 for the benefit of the Charter School Incorporated doing business as Campus Community School to refinance its high school facility located at 350 Pear Street in Dover, Delaware, for public hearing on Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Ordinance LC 21-12 has been introduced. Commissioner Angel, item number 2, please.
Sorry, sir. Over to you. Move to go into executive session immediately following the committee meetings on June 15th, 2021 for preliminary discussion on site acquisition for a public funded capital improvement, legal strategy session regarding collective bargaining or pending or potential litigation, and personal matters pursuant to 29 Del Code 10004, B, 2, 4, and 9.
Thank you. Have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Angel, second by Commissioner Maston for executive session on June 15th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall, absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney, absent. Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
Thank you. The motion is passed. Any informational items? Any informational items?
Mr. President?
Mr. Pettermosh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few brief informational items. First is the carpet project at the library is underway, and I stopped over there this morning, and it looks really nice. They're doing a great job. Corporate Interiors was hired to do that work for us, and so we're replacing the 10-year-old carpet in the library in its totality, and they'll be done this week. So it's really a nice improvement. Secondly, the Bollard project is getting close to starting. Ken Construction will be doing the work for us, and all the materials have been ordered. We're understanding that the actual bollards themselves are to be delivered tomorrow here, and I believe Ken Construction will be starting most likely next week or the week after. So that project is moving forward. And the third item, regarding Resolution 3889, you may have already seen it, but if not, there's a copy, I understand, over in the Levy Court office. If you could sign it before you leave, that will help us. I'm not sure how quickly we need to get it over to Legislative Hall, but we're going to see if we can get Commissioner Sweeney and Commissioner Hall's signatures on there also. But if they need it sooner, Commissioner Angel, I'm not sure if Senator Pardee gave you any instructions on when it's needed.
No, he didn't. He just wanted a resolution. And I think as long as we got 5 or more, I would take a picture and send it to his phone just to say it's coming.
Yeah.
With all signatures. So.
Yeah, we can do that. And we also need to get Commissioner Buxton when he's available to sign it as well. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Thank you. Any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing no public comments, any commissioner comments?
Mr. Pepper.
Commissioner Buxton.
So a couple things, if you can stay with me just for a minute.
Go ahead.
For starters, I give permission to Kathy Sweeney to be my proxy on a signature if it needs to be rather quickly. Having said that, I'll make it to the county tomorrow if not. But let me take you through real quick. So, for starters, I feel your pain, Commissioner Howe, because for the last couple hours I've been like, God, will this meeting ever end? That's my humor, not yours. Secondary to that, I'd say thank you. Thank you to all of you and those of you that allowed me to join the meeting through WebEx. It was frustrating to me starting out at about 6:40 when I could not access it. But here's what I know at the end of the day. I chose to make it complicated by not being there. But the ability to do this allowed me to watch my 15-year-old son's game. So if I express frustration during the meeting, if I express frustration to others outside of the meeting, at the end of the day, this was on me, and I appreciate the opportunity to do Levy Court's business while allowing me to get to his game, which ended at 7, by the way. That's it. I don't know if that made sense, but I wanted to say it, so thank you.
Mr. Buxton, I thank you for taking the opportunity to join us, and I'm particularly glad you were able to view your son's game. That's just as important. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
Any other commissioner comments? Mr. Angel.
Yes, thank you. I received a call from General Powell's course again about asking for anybody that's interested in taking his course. And I wanted to mention it again, and I'll mention it again at the county meeting when we go, because they are looking still for people to take the course. It is an intensive 12-week course, and as I've said to you before, taking that course has definitely changed my leadership style and the way I do things, and how it's really been beneficial. And I definitely recommend it. And it doesn't have to be a commissioner. It can be an employee, it can be a director, it can be anybody, a staff member if you want to take it. So if you're interested, let me know, get a hold of me. I will get you the contact people. Also, Mr. Pettermosh, where are we at with our maintenance building? Just real quick, just something real quick to find out.
Well, the funds were approved in the budget, the FY22 budget. I'm sorry, we have not begun any process yet, but what we will need to do is solicit. We'll probably begin with some solicitations, but it's going to be an RFP or bidding process, an invitation to bid, and we'll go from there. I'm not sure we will need to go the architectural route with this, but we'll evaluate that. It hasn't really. We were waiting for the start of the new budget, to be honest with you, before we begin. And we have Sam on a couple of other projects right now.
And I just want to give everybody an update too real quick. Mr. Pettermosh, Mr. Quetta, and myself were on a call on Friday for a public service for how we handle our service abilities, and we listened to what they could offer. I will say they were very intense, and actually we're doing more than what we were looking for. But at the same time, we are moving forward on looking for customer service satisfaction, because every place you go, they always have a quick survey or ask 3 questions, and I think that's something that we need to do too, to make sure that if there's an issue somewhere, we can address it and make appropriate decisions based on that. So just to let everybody know that is moving forth.
Mr. Angel.
Yes, Mr. Buxton.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you stating that. I actually screenshot a couple of interesting interactions that I had this week from a broad spectrum of interactions. One was a transaction through a debit card where there was a brief survey at Rite Aid asking me if my experience was good. Nothing to it. There was a phone ask where basically I contacted an insurance company and they asked me at the end if I wouldn't mind taking a very brief survey or weighing in on my experience. And then lastly, there was an internet or email well, it was an internet search that then linked me to an email that said, how was your experience with your customer or with your service representative today? Each and every time I responded, and I mean this, I took the time to respond in a positive manner because here's what I know. They were absolutely positive experiences. In fact, I went to Dick's 2 weeks ago, Dick's Sporting Goods, and I saw an employee. I just felt like he went out of his way. And I made note of that to a manager who asked me to fill out very quickly a response indicating my experience with that employee. So why am I sharing that with you? Because I think like you believe and I believe, this is not about tattling on a bad experience. It is actually about acknowledging the vast majority of times when people interact with the county in a positive manner. I really believe that. I think that the vast majority of experiences we're going to have in these responses will be, hold on one second, will be from positive experiences. Copy that? All right,
Yes.
I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Buxton. Appreciate that.
I have to piggyback off of Mr. Buxton. I've been doing the same thing too with my company and dental companies. And long story short, as Mr. Buxton always says, I bought a dental lathe in January. On the 87th day of the 90-day warranty, it quit. So I called the company. The company said I had to go back to the manufacturer. I went back to the manufacturer. They said I had to go back to the company. Each time they're sending me emails wanting to know how they're doing. So finally, they sent me a replacement. Only 3 weeks after I got that motor went out too. Now, this is a motor I've been using for 48 years in my business, and every piece of equipment I have. The only difference is they now changed the automatic chuck on the end that was different, and because of the way they did it, they looked at the mother of all chucks, and they did their system on it, and it makes the motor hotter. You can't put your hand on it. It gets hot. And I let them know that, and they loved that I told them that. Only that when I said I want another motor, I want one with a Wells Quick chuck, not their chuck. I want the handler motor, but not their chuck. So they sent me 2 separate issues, only to find out they sent me the chuck, but there's an adapter they don't sell that I happen to have in my lab as on an old one. So, but each one has reached out to me to ask the customer service way, are you satisfied with how this all went down? Were you taken care of? I mean, it was all positive as far as taking care of a negative, but it was all good. So you can't fix what's broke unless you know, and that's what one of the people told me when I talked to him personally on the phone. So just to let you know, we're all starting to look at this differently, and I'm included. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Howes, second by Commissioner Angel to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Buxton?
Yes.
Mr. Hall? Absent. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maston?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? Absent. Mr. Pepper?
Yes.
Mr. President, roll call reveals 5 yeas, 2 absent.
We are